I would like to thank all of our partners for joining us today and look forward to more engagement sessions like this where we can discuss topical issues and challenge ourselves to do more. Thank you so much for being here with us. Now I'm handing over to our board chairman, Mr. Niyi Yusuf. Mr. Yusuf, over to you.
Thank you so very much, Felicia, and good morning, everyone. And I hope I'm audible enough. Right, so today
you are.
All right, good. Today is important. After crossing the 1 million mark in terms of the number of students that we've been able to impact in 2020, Jan has strategically set out to focus on reaching the next 1 million students by 2025. So essentially what took us 20 years to achieve, we now want to achieve in another 5 years. And why the first 1 million students is, whether it's no small feat, we are positive that we have the right combination of board members, of partners, of a technology delivery platform, and of volunteers that can help us to achieve our goal of reaching the second set of 1 million students in 5 years. And so I would like to specifically thank the 10 organizations that sit on the board of JAN. This being Veraki Partners, First Bank of Nigeria, the Aliko Dangote Foundation, Channels Television, Sigma Pension Limited, Citibank Nigeria, Shalom BJ Nigeria, Deloitte, Agile Communications, and Stiti Akisomin. And indeed, it also gives me great pleasure to announce that a JAN alumnus and supporter, Mr. Inyolua Aboyeji, will be bringing his JAN journey in full cycle by joining the board of Junior Achievement Nigeria as our 11th board member. Inye, or E as he is popularly called, is an example of the impact of Junior Achievement of Nigeria amongst the Nigerian youth, and we are glad to have him join the board. So welcome, E, and I hand over to Felicia.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Yusuf. Thank you. And welcome again, E. It's good to have you here with us. Welcome. All right. So we're now going to move into the very first session of the day. This session is the financial literacy session, which is going to be moderated by our very amazing and delightful Adiola Olumeyo of Channels TV. Good morning, Adiola. It's good to have you here. Good to see you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. All right. And some of the panelists for that session are already in the house. I'm just going to welcome them very quickly, and then I'll hand over to you, Adiola. We are also leaving the panels open for other people that might have contributions to please make them. And if you're going to be speaking, can you please put your video on so that we can see your lovely face? Thank you. All right. So on this panel, we have with us Mrs. Folake Animumuni of FBN. Welcome, fam. Good morning. We have Mr. Ononiju of Prudential Zenith. We have Chinyere of CBN, and we have Abiola Biya, which is representing one of the committees on the Bankers Committee. So welcome, everyone. Adiola, over to you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask all our panelists to please use your video so that we can see you and have a very healthy and interesting conversation. So I'll just again quickly introduce the panelists that will be speaking today. And first we have our own very vice chair, FAM, Mrs. Folake Animumuni, who is the group head of marketing and corporate communications at First Bank Nigeria. And FBN has served on the board of JAN for over 10 years, and they've sponsored very many programs. This is very good to have you, Mrs. Animumuni.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to this.
Thank you. We also have Bob Onoju, who is the head of public relations for Prudential Zenith Life Insurance. They sponsor the Cha-Ching program in primary schools across the country, working with Jan. Hi, Bob.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Mr. Dave Oduanu is the managing director of Sigma Pension Limited, and he's a member of Jan board, and they play a very instrumental role in leading Jan conversations around pensions and financial planning for the youth. Good morning, Mr. Dave. And of course, we have Abiola Biya, who represents the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Subcommittee of the Bankers Committee. It's very nice to see you, Abiola.
Good morning. Thank you, Adiola.
Okay. So let's just jump right into the conversation. And we all understand that youth and youth employment, we understand that youth in Nigeria play a very significant role because we have a more youthful population than most countries in Nigeria. We also understand that the way population growth and inflation growth is going in Nigeria is not quite balanced. For that reason, Jan has become a very, very useful, has developed programs that are very useful, has become very useful NGO working in the space. I'm throwing this question open to everyone. What impact would you say financial literacy education have on the youth of Nigeria? I'd like Mrs. Animomuni to start, please, and then Abiola, the women first.
Thank you very much, Adiola. I guess
Abiola, do you want to carry on while Mrs. Animomuni is working on her audio?
Right. Thank you. Thank you again, Adiola. I believe your question was about impact of financial literacy on youth, right?
critical.
Correct.
Ensuring that as a nation, we're able to fully reach the potential that we can reach. And why is that so? It's important that all aspects of society, right from a very early age, understand the role of commerce in really being the engine of any nation. Productivity is critical for any nation, and therefore having a full understanding of financial literacy and all the different levers and all the different pegs is critical and important to ensuring that not only do we have a vibrant economy, we have an economy where we are job creators, not just job seekers, where we measure and we look at productivity all round. We have an economy where every single person has the opportunity to be a player because they have imbibed all the necessary elements and tenets of financial literacy. So starting at a very young age is one of those things that I believe that we must never underestimate. We must make sure that from a very young age, we understand the multiplier effect of savings, the multiplier effect of ensuring people understand investment instruments, the multiplier effect of ensuring that people understand how we manage wastage to ensure that as a country, as a nation, we are one of the, at the forefront of ensuring that our economy within Africa is
It looks like we're still having some audio issues. We'll just give it a few more seconds. Okay, Abiola, just before the network issue started, Fan made a very interesting point about how it's important for young children and young people to understand the multiplier effects of financial literacy and finances. So how early would you say it is to start financial literacy education?
Thank you, Jola. So For us, especially as the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Committee, we think that it's very important to start really early, and we demonstrated this in some of our programs. And we think that financial literacy is really lifelong learning, and the earlier you start, the better. It's never too early. So some of our programs, including Financial Literacy Day and World Savings Day, we extend to primary school pupils, right from primary 1, primary 2. We start teaching them, simple things about money, about saving, spending, things like that. And so we think that, you're never too young. It's something that you can build on as you grow old. So it's important that you start really young, start teaching them these things, and so that they can take that, lifelong learning. And there's so many studies already that show that financial literacy is important because, it has an impact on your future, has an impact on how you choose to spend money, what you do with money, how you budget, how you save, how you interact with financial institutions and things like that. So I would say that, it's never too early. From right when they are born, it's important for parents to start to show them, what money means. And then once they're in school, they can read and they can write, then, it's full blast from there.
That's interesting. So as long as my children can read and write, they should be learning about financial literacy. Is that what you mean?
100%. You should start to, show them what money can do. You should start to let them know, how money is made, how it can be spent, what it should be spent on, things like that. It's very important that at a young age, they learn that. And so it's not as difficult as they get older, and you start moving into the more advanced bits of financial literacy, like budgeting or like investing, things like that. It becomes easier to them when they already have a solid foundation.
That's very interesting. I'm definitely going to be changing my ways. And so I suppose that as part of the Bankers Committee, that's why the Bankers Committee is interested. So what role do banks play in supporting financial education literacy? And what do you do to support the education of children?
Thank you, Diola. So I would start by saying that for banks, financial literacy is key. If people don't even know, anything about money, or they don't know anything about finance, they don't even want to work with you. They don't even, know what you can do for them, right? And so for us, we ensure that from a very young age, we're reaching our targets. So people in primary schools, people in secondary schools. And that's why the Bankers Committee created a subcommittee called the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Subcommittee, which is essentially a mouthpiece of the Bankers Committee. And what that committee is dedicated to doing is making sure that we're getting the message of financial literacy out there, and we're pushing for financial inclusion, and we're working with different stakeholders across different industries as well, not just the banking industry, but different industries, to make sure that we're getting that message out there and we're including everyone. And so the FLPE has been sort of giving this objective to ensure that we are carrying out programs to bring people into the fold, to educate people on finance. One of the major programs is Financial Literacy Day, which is a part of the Global Money Week, celebration. And so Financial Literacy Day, we use that as an opportunity to visit schools across the country, so primary and secondary schools, and teach them, basic stuff on financial literacy, from savings to earning money to budgeting, just simple things like that. And so these are things that we do yearly across the country. We have World Savings Day as well, which usually comes up in like October, and we do the same thing. We have radio programs that are run by the FLPE for the bankers community. So we have a number of programs like that we run just to ensure that we're getting that message out there, and mostly with target young people, because we know that, you need to catch them young. You need to start educating them from when they're at a young age, so that when they grow older, they are familiar with these things. When they are able to open bank accounts, run bank accounts, they have the knowledge already, and you are not just, teaching them things at that age where it might be a bit more difficult to understand. So yeah, these are some of the programs that the FLP runs on behalf of the Bankers Committee.
Thanks, Abiola. Is FAM back? Because I know that First Bank also helps to sponsor quite a number of these programs and initiatives, and it will be very nice to hear from her also some of the work that First Bank does in that space. Okay, Mr. Oduanu. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Yeah, same here. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And so Biola just spoke a little bit about what the Bankers Committee does and the importance of savings and the importance of inculcating all of those kind of good behavior into children, to learn how to invest, to learn how to save, and to catch them young. As she said, that tone was set by FAM, and then Abiola continued it. And I know that pensions is kind of like that, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Pensions is actually, so I mean, I think pensions is actually more savings, long-term savings than banks. While banks are savings institutions, pensions are, in many ways, the bedrock of the country's, long-term financial savings that is, kept to finance retirement, but also to finance development projects. So it's important that people are taught how to save very early in the day and how to save for retirement. And we always say that you start saving for retirement from the day you get a job. People don't think about retirement when you are 50 or 60. Start thinking about retirement when you are 25. Because as you know, long-term savings is based on compounding. And the longer you save, even if you save small amounts of money, the more you have when you retire. So it's important that we teach the young ones the importance of savings. Maybe not when they are still in primary school for savings for retirement, but certainly what we try to do is that as they get into the university, we then run savings investment programs. I think we do one with and certainly NYSC so that by the time they get a job, they know the importance of savings.
So how much should I be saving for pensions to make sense to me?
Well, it depends on what's, so the way to do that math, there's no magic number. It's based on your expected, income at retirement. So what we always advise is that people should save enough money to ensure that when they retire, they maintain the same standard of living, knowing that at that point, certain things, would have been completed. Hopefully, things like education, children education, things like, building your own house would have been completed if you are fortunate. So it's really money, spending money, going on vacation, if you will, doing some charity work and all that. So the minimum requirement is 18% of your income. But I think that, we encourage people to save as much as 30%. In some climes, the savings rate is as much as 30. So while 18 is the minimum, you can do voluntary contributions. But I think the key thing is to start saving on time. So they're like, if you haven't, I know you have a pension account, but if you don't have one, then you probably will be saving almost 50% of your income to catch up with the lost years. But if you start on time and you save 20% of your income every year for 30 years of working, I think you'll be fine because these savings are invested by the pension fund, which then yields additional income. At a point, that is when you have saved enough. When the income you get from your savings account is more than what you are adding to the savings account every year, then you're almost like you're able to use the income from your savings to replace the monies you are earning on a regular basis. So what I can let you know, I mean, a couple of millions maybe every year will do.
Wow. So first, my children have to learn to save, and then I also have to learn to save. Interesting. I guess, good to see Fam is back. We were enjoying the traction that you started with and how you were leading the conversation towards young children. And I'd love you to finish on that thought if you haven't lost your trail of thoughts.
So thank you very much. I got thrown out. I think as with most of us wearing multiple hats, you don't realize that you've got several devices trying to catch up on different calls. So thank you for asking me to carry on that train of thought. But I actually heard a lot of what Dave was talking about, and I got steered in that direction. And for me, I think the critical thing is really about saying, when should you start really paying attention to financial literacy and all things financial literacy? What are the areas you must focus on for yourself going forward, and for those that you have responsibility for going forward? I don't know whether anybody looked at the recent consumer price index that was released in February. And if you think about it, if you look at the price of things, and if you look at the trajectory that we see that things are going, it therefore means that you must have a mindset that means that your money must work for you, not you continuously working for money. That for me is what's at the root of financial literacy. How do we ensure that we're financially empowered and we're financially free? In fact, I like to call it financial freedom. You know, we talk about health and well-being, but your financial well-being is just as important if you're to live, you know, a really productive life. And you must start early. The consumer price index shows us the current prices of things in the market. Think about it. If you've worked for several years, as Dave said, what you want to be able to do is ensure that at the end of the day, you're still living, you know, in the custom to which you have become, or in the manner to which you have become accustomed, as we say. So you don't want a situation where during your less productive years, you find that you are not able to meet up with the things that you feel are important to having lived a very rewarding life. That's really where I was just going with this, to establish the basis and the root of us saying financial literacy must start very early. So from a personal perspective, it is first for you, but also from a national perspective, it is because we as Nigerians, as individuals, as human beings, we must all be productive. And we must all contribute to the growth of our economy. So again, a financially literate economy is one that will produce, is one that will innovate, is one that will grow, and it's one that will ensure that we're not all job seekers, we're also able to be job creators. Let me leave it at that for now.
Job creators. I guess that's the whole point of teaching children financial literacy. And I think that's what makes it even very interesting, that we have people from banks and we have people from pensions all on this panel. Abiola, so haven't heard what Mr. Uduano and FAM have said concerning this and the role that the banks play in this. Can you tell us a bit more on what you do with JAN to encourage financial literacy, knowing that JAN's main thrust is to ensure that children and youth are covered and learn all the rudiments? FAM spoke about children starting from when they are young, and Mr. Dave talked about younger adults starting as early as 25 to start to save for their pensions. How do you work with JAN on this?
Thank you, Adela. So Jan has been working very closely with the FLP and the Bankers Committee over the last few years to implement some of these programs that I mentioned. So from Financial Literacy Day to World Savings Day. For Financial Literacy Day, for example, which actually comes up next week, Jan this year had helped us develop the curriculum. So the curriculum that will even be taught to the kids at the school, Jan works very closely with the CBN to develop that. Also, Jan helps us with school selection. Jan helps us to ensure that the program is implemented the way it should. So all the schools that are selected across the country, they ensure that all the materials that are required are there. They ensure that the program runs smoothly. They coordinate with all the bank representatives to ensure that we actually carrying out our program as prescribed. So yes, Jan has been doing a lot with us on this program.
It's great to partner with you. So before I come back to Mr. Alduano, Fam, do you want to say a little bit about how First Bank in particular, I know you're also part of the Bankers Committee, but how does First Bank in particular, the kind of programs you sponsor, why it's important to sponsor those programs, and the impact that those programs have? Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Thank you, Adiola. And Abiola, to the point you made, it's really great that all of this is sort of like centrally coordinated. I say the power of collaboration means that we're able to achieve more. Like the CBN program for that reason, because when we collaborate, when we come to do this, the impact is at scale, which is really what we want to see and what we're able to measure. First Bank in particular have an umbrella, what we've termed Future First. So Future First is talking about the readiness of the younger ones and making sure that our financial literacy program sits under that umbrella. And it's within that umbrella that we partner with Jan on initiatives such as a Company of the Year program. In particular, we like the idea of teaching financial literacy, but not just teaching it as a standalone, but plugging it into the outcomes we want to see. So financial literacy is not so much simply for the literacy in itself. It's because there are certain outcomes we want at the end of the day. And the Company of the Year program that we participate in, we do participate in a number of the other initiatives as well. We feel that within that, our young people who are exposed to that particular program get a sense of how to manage the financials of whatever endeavor they put their hands to. Dave was talking about the fact that, yes, it's compound interest, teaching them that at a very early age, ensuring that within the structure of the company that they put together and how they structure themselves to have their CFO, to have their business plan, they're able to multiply wealth. Now, those are the sorts of outcomes that we want, and that's a particular program we're excited about. With regards to the Global Money Week, we fully participate in the Global Money Week. We have our CEO go out and he would take a school, but you'd also have other volunteers. Over the years, First Bank has grown a phenomenal volunteer cohort. We have amongst our staff and amongst vendors, partners, and other suppliers, a great volunteer program. That means that we have enough people to deploy to the various schools in trying to ensure that we teach financial literacy. So we participate in Global Money Week, we participate in World Savings Day fully, and we ensure that the curriculum as designed by Jan, we bring it alive by bringing the personal experiences of our volunteers to the table, and it's usually very rich and engaging. Over the years, we've come across past students who have given us great feedback and who have said to us, you ignited something the day you came to my school. The reality is sometimes we don't even remember that we were in their school. The reality is sometimes we don't even remember that we engaged with them. But the seeds you sow in these very young minds, they see a banker standing in front of them. They're thinking what career they want. They're thinking so many different things at that point in time. One of the things I will say that as Jan, we've done really well is ensure that there are programs beyond the specific day, beyond the specific week. There are programs that these students, these young adults can plug into going forward to make sure that they continue to build the financial muscles that they need for a truly rewarding life. Thank you, Diola.
Wow. So thank you so much, Fam. That was very, very insightful. Thank you. And so I hear you talk about collaborations. I hear you talk about multiplying wealth. And that's very interesting because, I mean, we know that by 2050, Nigeria is expected to have a population growth of about 400 million. At the same time, our inflation rate is not decreasing, rather it seems to be increasing. Obviously, that means that we are going to have a problem where if we're not careful, we will have more poor people by 2050. That obviously makes it important to actually have the young people who make the bulk of our population aware of how to save, how to invest, which are the things I've been hearing you say. I just wanted to ask Jan itself to talk about the company program that Fam just mentioned now and how incredibly important it is. I heard lots of beautiful things about how it's helping to multiply wealth and all. And Oduola, can you tell us a little bit more about what the company program itself does and how it has helped to achieve these objectives that Fam, Abiola, Mr. Oduanu have been talking about?
Thank you very much, Adiola. Good morning, everyone. So as a product of the company program myself, I can speak to just how interesting and how serious the company program is.
If we have a little bit of time, you're going to have to tell us a little bit about that journey.
Oh, wow. Okay, absolutely. So the company program is a 20-week program that we take young secondary school students through. Students start the program when they're in SS2, and they go through all the rigors of starting a business, understanding everything that goes into it. So how they set up their company, pick their directors, they sell their shares, they embark on a CSR project. It's a lot that goes into it. And it's really about understanding what entrepreneurship is all about. Understanding that entrepreneurship is at its core not about making money, but really about solving a problem and, plugging gaps within your community, being contributing to your community in a meaningful way. And as a result of that, you make money. Over the past 4 years, we've seen, in fact, let me say over the past 10 years, we've had First Bank sponsor the National Company of the Year competition, which is where we bring all of our students from across the country together to compete for the title of National Company of the Year. And, just being a part of those competitions, seeing these students demonstrate their understanding of entrepreneurship and understanding of, plugging gaps within their community and solving real critical needs within the community. It's really, really heartwarming to see the job that we've put into for the past 20 weeks come to fruition like that. I will talk about some of the companies that these students have started. In 2018, I believe it was, we had Carol Favor from Ajegule. They created a handheld traffic signal because of accidents around their school. They figured, creating this traffic signal is going to help reduce the accidents in their area, and it did. In 2019, we had Tied Up College from Abeokuta. They created a gas leakage detector to reduce explosions as a result of liquefied petroleum gas leakage. And this was because a student lost mother to a explosion. We've seen girls secondary school have a to sellers in the market. And we're seeing more and more that our students are demonstrating the understanding of entrepreneurship. Even more, they're showing that when they have the right support, there's nothing that they can't do. Like there's really no limit to what the students can accomplish. I remember when I participated in the company program, and one of our board members here, he also participated in the company program. Our businesses were not as complex. They were very, very simple. At my school, we started a toast bread business. It's far cry from, a gas leakage detector or an app linking farmers to sellers. And what it shows is that there's been tremendous growth, not only in the way we deliver the program, but in the support that we've received as a result of the work that we've been doing from First Bank, from a lot of the partners on this call. and also from the students and the schools that the students go to. Their parents as well have shown tremendous support, that they believe in what this program is doing, and that they want to continue to support their students and their children or wards to accomplish everything that they can do. So I hope I've been able to paint just, a little picture of what the company program is about and the successes over the past few years. Thank you, Adiola.
Adiola, if I could quickly chip in very quickly to what Ojola has said. I think for me, it's the financial literacy aspect of it that really stands out. In addition to everything else that he said, but the ability to really see money at work and to understand the impact and the multiplier effect that it has. Thank you.
Thank you, Fam. I think indeed that multiplier effect is what is missing for quite a number of people. We don't understand that even that little savings adds up over time, which is what Mr. Oduanu was saying, that the whole pension thing is not just keeping your money somewhere, it's investing towards your future. Oduala, it's good to hear you talk about the toast spread, because the next time we come to Jan, I would like to eat some of that toast bread as proceeds from, from Jan. Thank you so much, Mr. Oduanu. So the multiplier effect that FAM keeps talking about, you've mentioned something very similar to that also, that multiplier effect. And you've told me that I need millions to catch up now that I haven't started my pensions already. So is there any hope for anyone like me on this panel? Is there hope? How do I get these millions?
No, well, there's a lot of hope. So I just did some quick numbers. So let me put it in context, and I think the numbers tell the story better. If you save, so there's this thing about how do you become a millionaire in dollars, and I say to people, save just $50 a day from the day you turn 25, $50 a month from the day you turn 25. By the time you are 65, you have $1 million. Because it's compounded. Now, if you want to have $2 million, you make it $200 a month. And these numbers are not too big. I mean, look, I can translate it to Naira. $200 is 100,000 a month. $50 is 25,000 a month. So that's the kind of savings. So that is a 30-year savings plan for people that we typically advise when you graduate. So if you then start saving when you are 40, it means that you just do a quick number, take that number and multiply it by the lost years, right? So instead of saving maybe 25,000 a month, you then maybe save 100,000 a month to reach the same destination. So what you do is that you take the lost compounded interest. You say the first 10 years, if I've been saving this amount, this is where I would have been the first 10 years. So you either go find that money, you can sell some of your assets, and find that money and drop it in there, or you increase the savings rate. And, the point that FAM made about the whole company program and all that, and financial literacy is really critical. It's a program we do sponsor a Sigma Pension, which is the NYC event, where we teach them how to start a small business, do business plans, and the ones that win the competition, we give them small money to put in the business. But I think what is very critical and more important is the fact that you can start a business, but you can also save and invest. And you see that for countries that are developed, the pension index, or how much they've saved, is an indicator of how well, the standard of living of the country and how well the country is self-sufficient. So countries like the Netherlands, their pension funds exceed the gross domestic product, GDP. So in other words, they have saved enough money that if they lose production for some years, the monies they have in their pension funds can tide them over. In Nigeria, unfortunately, we are less than 10% of gross domestic product in our pension funds. So we have a lot of catching up to do. So not just you, Diola, all of us have a lot of catching up to do. There are people who are 40 who cannot beat their chest that when they retire at 6 or 65, that they can be financially independent. And financial independence is critical. One of the reasons why we see corruption in certain places that people don't know what they're going to do when they lose their jobs or when they retire. So they tend to, in other words, to corrupt themselves and save as much as they can. But if you have a decent pension plan, decent retirement savings plan, you have financial independence, then the day you stop working is going to be the happiest day in your life, unlike some people when you literally have to push them out of the office. There's one program that Jan does, which is called VIN. And I gave some sort of what you can call a commencement day speech to the VIN graduates 2 years ago. And it was instrumental, it was important because a lot of them were hearing this, and I told them my own story. And I said, look, you can do it, you can do whatever you want to be. And we started engaging some of them. I said, you can do internship. It's really not how much they're paying you, but it's for you to learn the skills you need. And once you have the skills you need to get a job, start saving. So it is very important that people start saving from day one. So I agree with Fam, we should emphasize more on the savings and investment aspect, not just the business aspect of it. The business leads to income, and the income have to be saved. It is those income that is saved that is used to finance all the road infrastructure, network of roads, bridges, power, critical assets. So that's why savings and pension is critical for national development.
Okay, I'm sure I'm not the only person who is going to go back with some thoughts. And just to drive it home a little bit more for anyone who might have missed it, our amazing panel have reminded us how important it is to start young. Start as soon as you can. I'm going to be starting from today. Mr. Dave would have that private conversation.
Please, I'm waiting.
So, and I think the whole point, and one of the things I've learned is that because of all of the support of all of these companies on the board of JAN, because of the support that you lend to individual children, you're in the end helping the nation itself to grow. Because when we empower one, we empower all. And so eventually, the hope is that we will have financial independence for more young adults as we go. It was very nice to hear Felicia say that JAN had reached 1 million students, and then the hope is that we will reach another 1 million very, very soon. The power of collaboration has been emphasized here, and the importance of multiplying wealth, saving and investing. I want to thank every single person on this panel for the work that you do, either with JAN, either with the VIMP program, the Kaching program, or the Company of the Year program. You're making amazing changes, not just to the children or the young adults, but to Nigeria, and also helping eventually to help achieve the SDG goals. I want to say thank you, Abiola. Thank you, Mr. Oduanu. Thank you, Fam, our own vice chair. Thank you, Mr. Bob Onoju. Thank you so much. We've really had a very good time, and I thank everyone for listening. I'll hand over back again now to Felicia for the next panel.
Thank you so much to our distinguished panelists and moderator. That was a fantastic session. Thank you so very much. I really, really enjoyed it. All right, so now we're jumping right into the next session, which is the Work, Readiness, and Entrepreneurship session, which is going to be moderated by our very own Zachary Momodu, who is one of our distinguished board members and also from Aliko Dangote Foundation. Just so everybody remembers, this is streaming live on Channel's Facebook, so you can send the link out to your loved ones, send it out to different people, and you can check it out on live on Channel's Facebook. Zachary, over to you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and
I've
clear.
had a bit of a shaky connection so far, so I'm hoping we can get through our session without incident. Welcome to the new normal. The advantage of having to have this session virtual is that we can do it from anywhere, and we can also have multiple of these back to back. The advantage is exactly that we can have multiples of these back to back, and it means that our whole day can be crammed with these virtual sessions. But also we are hostage to our technology. So here's hoping for the best. And speaking of technology and how technology is changing our lives for the better, for the more interesting, for the challenging, and opening new fields for entrepreneurship and jobs and investments, I would like to welcome my first panelist, Mr. Ian Aboyeji, who is the founder and general partner at Future Africa. He's, as was introduced earlier, a JAN alumnus and the newest board member to the JA Nigeria board. Ian, you're most welcome. A lot of you will probably recognize Ian as co-founder of Andela and the former managing director of Flutterwave. And he and his team and many Nigerian youths like him are really, including myself, I'm not yet that old, really setting the pace for the next level of, what is possible. So it's really good to have Ian on the panel, and it's really absolutely great to have him on the board. An old hand at this tricks. Speaking of intergenerational collaborations, we still have to learn from the wise, who's been there, done that, who we met, and we'll probably still be doing it when, we are also old and wise. It's my good chairman, Niyi Yusuf. He's chairman of JA Nigeria and managing partner of Veraki Partners. Before that, he was the country manager in Nigeria for Accenture in Nigeria. Niyi, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Zachary.
Excellent. And lastly, a last minute addition because, a couple of my panelists unfortunately had to drop out. I have roped in Folusho Badamosi, who you've met already as the JAN Executive Director. Folusho is new to the team. She's just resumed in January, where she's joined us from Prime Atlantic Group, where she was Director of Business Process and Technology. And there we go again with technology. There's no getting away from it. She's also an Executive Council member of Winbase, so she's an old hand at the entrepreneurship game and all that we'll be discussing here, as well as supporting women and women issues, which are very dear to our hearts. So thank you, Folusho.
Zachary, good morning again, everyone.
Yes. Right. So JA Nigeria, it's been 21 years now, 1 million kids impacted. We want to reach another million. I'm sure with the likes of Niyi, with historic experience, and Ian with the future forward approach, we should be able to do in less than 5 what we've done in 20. But tell me, guys, even Folusho coming in from the outside, why do you all, as individuals, but also as body corporates, promote entrepreneurship? And more specifically, why JA Nigeria? Let's start with the old hand, Niyi.
All right, I'm glad you said old hand. You didn't say old man. All right, thanks. And so, I've been volunteering I started as a volunteer with Junior Achievement, I think like about 20 or so years ago, right from the inception. And I continue to volunteer, and my organization also continues to volunteer because we understand that it's almost a responsibility that you have to make sure the environment that you work and the environment that you live is successful, even as you as a corporate are striving to be successful, right? So it's part of our own stewardship assignment to ensure that we give back to the community. And in giving back to the community, you are creating a better environment for all, so that it's not just a corporate organization that's focusing on its own profit and giving dividend to its investors, but it's important to ensure that as a body corporate, our investors benefit, our employees benefit, our suppliers benefit, our customers benefit, and of course, the environment, the community also benefit. And when we look at Nigeria, we thought there are two areas where our skills and experience could be better deployed: education and entrepreneurship, right? Some of the organizations will do health, some other organizations will do water, etc. But for us at Veraki, we picked education and entrepreneurship. And clearly, Junior Achievement is one of the leading organizations, one of the trusted organizations that does both education and entrepreneurship. And that does it at scale and at different levels, from primary school, secondary, university, and also post-university. And so we thought that's an incredible platform for us to support. And so that's why, as an individual and as a corporate, we continue to engage with Jan so that we can, through Jan, scale up the things that we do and impact more Nigerians in the area of entrepreneurship and education. Thanks.
Thank you, Nii. Right, so I'll jump straight to Ian. I'm sure lots of people outside of the JA network will be keen to know, your every move. And so this will be one that would be intriguing to them. What is the secret? We're hoping we can, borrow some of that star power and get additional commitments and interest to JA. So please tell us why this move?
Yeah. Well, I think at a more foundational level, we live in a society where, we live in a society where things are still very, very early. Particularly in the sense that there's a lot of things still yet to be built, right? So you don't really, and my mind frame is that every challenge in a society is really an opportunity for people to build things. And so the most valuable skill that we can give our children, skills which I learned from Junior Achievement, is the skill of being able to create value. And that's really what entrepreneurship is about. And that's what Junior Achievement gives you the ability to get on the ground and do, right? And learning how to do it in a very structured way. I remember when I was part of the company program at JA back in 2006 now, 2005, 2006. The core of the program was, here's how a company works. This is how it's structured. This is how you finance it. This is what you do with the money. This is how you account for it. And in learning through those steps, which have now become habit for me, I think we've backed about 45 companies in my current fund. I've probably advised and worked for close to 100 companies at this point in my career, and being taught those principles very early about how company formation and value creation works, and how to capture value that you've created really does open up your mind. And I think the ability for our kids to start early is extremely important. But one of the reasons why I've kind of stuck with JA so long, this will be now 12 years being part of Junior Achievement, is actually that 15 years, 15 years being part of Junior Achievement, is actually the fact that especially right now in our society, what you quickly realize is people like me are very privileged to have had the benefit of a JA company education, right? But there are lots of kids out there who need these skills, maybe even more than I do, who don't yet have access to the education. And what is really impressive is how the leadership of JA continues to push the envelope. This is not a program for rich kids in private schools like Loyola, where I went. It's becoming, you know, a program that's scaled beyond that. And what I'm really, really excited about is what we're going to do to make this mainstream, you know, while I'm on the board. You know, I see no reason why people aren't learning about JA company concepts on TV, right? People aren't learning about JA company concepts in their textbooks, right? I think as far as entrepreneurship education is concerned, no one does it better than JA, both from a theoretical and practical point of view. So there's probably a world where we're far more mainstream, especially because now, you know, schools are shutting down and so on and so forth. So, you know, the ability for kids to be able to pick up these concepts wherever they are is extremely important, more so than ever before. So that's why I'm here.
Well, thank you very much. Very well put, except, you know, I hope you are counting your money better than you're counting your years in JA. All right. So, but on the note of reaching out to a wider audience, and, you know, having more state and public school wins, like, you know, we regularly see the kids from the Ajegule schools or the, is it Abaji in FCT winning the regional competitions that JA participates and runs in. Felucia, you are driving the digitization of the JA model from the old analog to a more, as Ian has said, more dynamic, more larger population reach using available technology. Tell us about that as you respond to the question on why, you know, you are so keen on this.
All right, thank you, Zachary. All right, so I guess really to start, it would be to kind of start with the fact that there's obviously a huge challenge with regards to reaching more of the lower income community because of technology, right? So the access to technology, the access to devices, and all that good stuff. The benefit, though, is because now that we had the COVID pandemic, we see that a lot of organizations are actually very, very willing to support the spread of, let me say, technology, right, to different parts of the country. So what we've actually seen is that we have quite a lot of organizations that are now, you know, constructing hubs and labs in places that they typically would not have. We have even the government, which has now started a program where they are rolling out more Wi-Fi technology all over the state of Lagos, as an example. So let me kind of just focus on Lagos for now. What that means for us is that we now have the opportunity to reach more of those schools because they're going to have access to the technology because of fiber and all that good stuff. Now, what this means for us as Junior Achievement is that we are actually able to reach more students. The reason we're able to reach more students is because technology is, I mean, it's a no-brainer in this day and age. We need technology to not just reach people, but also to teach them, right? So it's beyond just reaching them, it's also teaching them digital skills. And to teach them those digital skills, they need access to the devices. So I remember when I was in university, you know, not too long ago, because I'm very young, as you can tell, but a lot of people I know that were studying computer science did not even use computers. They were using paper and, you know, pens to write code. This code has to be run. If the code is not run, you don't know if it's working or not, you know. So what is happening now is that we are getting to the point where finally, you know, we are getting a lot more partnerships, a lot more engagement, a lot more of all of us kind of coming together to really solve the problem of getting our youth trained digitally the right way. I mean, I'm always so glad to see people like Ingi and so many others as well that are driving technology in such an innovative way, right? So we hear a lot of stories nowadays of a lot of the youth in Nigeria that are coming up with amazing solutions to problems. One huge thing that we focus on at Junior Achievement is really problem solving, right? At the end of the day. So for you to be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to solve problems. And that's why our company program is such an amazing program that everybody just loves so much, because what the youth do is that they actually solve problems. Now, solving problems is one thing. Using technology to solve the problems is another thing. So what we're also trying to do beyond just, all what we've been doing all this while is adding that digital layer. And that's why we've added the digital literacy to one of our pillars here at Junior Achievement Nigeria, because we believe that it's very, very important to give the youth that layer of, digital education. Also, something else that we've observed is that while we do very, very well on the programs here in Nigeria, and our students come up with great, fantastic solutions to problems, we still have that place that's lacking because of technology. So when we get to the more international competitions, they are solving problems in more dynamic ways using technology than we are here in Nigeria. So we're really, really pushing, adding that digital layer to a lot of what we're teaching. And, this is something that everybody on this call pretty much has been supportive of, and we're really going to be driving that this year. So this year, expect to see a lot more of our programs, not just driven by technology, but also the addition of technology to the things that we're teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot about what's happening, and for those participants on the call who might still not have a clear picture on the JA model, bear in mind that this is not necessarily about education academics. The JA model focuses on life skills, right? So it's complementary to the academic knowledge that these kids get in school. It adds a practical layer to what they are learning theoretically, and it allows them to begin to employ some of these practical life skills within a controlled environment. And this brings me to my next question, which is the impact. What is the result of this? So we've reached 1 million kids, but, and so technology is becoming more and more part of our daily lives. But there's still millions of, Nigerians, not just kids, but adults who don't have access to, sufficient infrastructure. And it's not just the hardware, but it's even the access to power. Nevertheless, you still have quite a lot of Nigerians engaging in, advanced fee fraud and 419 and Yahoo Boys and so on and so forth, using the same, technology and within the same restrictions. So, Ian, talk to us for a minute about, what is the impact on Nigerian youth that JA has delivered, can deliver, and is hoping to deliver in real terms. I mean, sell it to a potential board member or investor in the program. Why would this be any different from the multiplicity of entrepreneurship and empowerment programs out there?
Yeah, I think the point you've made is absolutely true, particularly about technology. I think one thing that we all have to understand is that these things are tools. They're not more than tools. They can be used for good and they can be used for bad, right? I mean, for those of us who are banking executives, money can be used for good, money can be used for bad, right? So these are just tools. But I think what's special about the GA program is three things in my mind. The first one is it's a very structured program, right? So many times the way we teach entrepreneurship is from what I would say a very a slightly unstructured point of view. It's not clear about what it means to be a formal business that can grow through multiple leaps and bounds, right? Very foundational concepts like equity are not taught in many of these other programs. They kind of teach it as though they expect people to kind of get into trading, which is not entrepreneurship, right? Trading is you buy something, you sell something. You're not really growing anything, right? You're not creating company value. You know what I mean? And I think that's where JA gets it right, is that it teaches you what does it look like for you to formalize a business, for you to raise capital for a business, the entire life cycle. The second thing is it's practical, right? I've seen a lot of entrepreneurship textbooks, and a lot of it doesn't actually get into the practicalities of entrepreneurship, right? It mostly focuses on the theoretical. Entrepreneurship is defined as XYZ, right? And that's not what kids need these days, particularly these days, right? Where, you have yesterday, Stripe, US company, raised $600 million at a $95 billion valuation. I happen to know the Stripe founders really well because when they were starting, I had a friend called Ludwig who was 18 and he was working as a designer at that company, right? The Stripe founders themselves were 21, 22 when they started their company. So the age that people are getting started on entrepreneurship is falling like a rock, right? And it's not inconceivable that very soon we have a 15-year-old billion-dollar CEO, right? And there's no reason why our kids should be left behind of that revolution where younger and younger people are able to create massive amounts of value very quickly, right? So again, its practicality is extremely important because then people are not just learning theory, they're actually able to lay their hands on a framework that's extremely practical that allows them to apply the knowledge that they're learning in real time. And I'll say the last thing is really because of our development. At the end of the day, what the truth is for a country like ours, we are going to have to build our way to development. When you look at the history of America and a lot of these countries that we admire, it wasn't government that built those countries, right? It wasn't development aid that built those countries. It was entrepreneurs that created the car. It was entrepreneurs that created and commercialized the airplane. It was entrepreneurs that created and commercialized oil. It was entrepreneurs that created and commercialized kerosene and so on and so forth. So again, what am I trying to say? If we're going to, we have a lot of building to do as a nation, as a continent, right? Particularly as a nation, there's so much that needs to be built to address our many, many, many challenges. If we're going to prepare our young people for a lifetime of that kind of work, then it makes sense that junior achievement is something that every child has access to from day one. You understand what I'm trying to say? So yes. Those are the three reasons why I think that we need to be doing this and we need to be scaling this program as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you very much, Ian. Ladies and gentlemen, so I apologized earlier that I lost a couple of my panelists, but I'm glad to say now that one of them has been able to rejoin us. Sade Hughes is Executive Director at Mixta Africa. And Mixta Africa is a specialist hospitality and retail fund. So as most of you know, in Nigeria, certainly in Lagos, one of the most vibrant, some people will even say hot markets or sectors is the real estate sector. So Sade, I also understand Mixta Africa has, extensive experience in supporting entrepreneurship programs. We are talking, I don't know if you caught the earlier part, but we are talking about, impact and what JA Nigeria can do in real terms for these kids, including and especially the kids that are in less advantageous schools.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me to this very nice session by the Junior Achievement of Nigeria. I'm in a car, I'm in a moving car, I'm in Abuja, I'm on my way to a site, but I think that we can get this done. I can see you, I can hear you, and I hope you can do the same for me. So maybe I'll just try and join the dots first of all. So at Mixta Africa, what do? We're a real estate company, like you said. Yes, we do have a sub-business in hospitality, but our main focus is real estate. And what we do in Mixta Africa is that we seek to lead the transformation really of African cities by building communities. So our slogan, is that it's not about bricks and mortar for us, it's more about building communities. And, communities, as we all know, also comprise, all sections of the demographic, particularly the youth. We know that we have a young, we don't have an aging population in Nigeria. We know that the youth is everything that we have here. And we also realize that we have, there's a big gap, the gentleman who's on the screen, I can see on the screen now, spoke about, certain, segments of society having an advantage over others. We have three main pillars in Mixed Africa of corporate social responsibility. There's sustainability, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So it's the entrepreneurship part of it that we're keying into. Entrepreneurship and innovation and ultimately sustainability. And we recognize that there are certain life skills, leadership skills, life skills that are a very, very large segment of our youth could do with some help with. I don't want to say is lacking, but could do with some help with. And in this regard, what we are doing is that we are sponsoring 300 senior secondary school youth to develop, to assist them, to develop financial skills. And I'm not saying to develop them into being accountants or whatever, but just basic tools of financial literacy, business planning, saving, investments, and all. And basically assisting, doing our bit to assist these youth, to become employable, to give them a better chance, to be employable, and to also by empowering them, by imparting these skills and these lifestyle skills and leadership skills on them, they can also impact other members of their of their communities. And this is the way that we as real estate practitioners who have a very large vision and a very lofty goal of building communities. This is the way that we see we see the basic, shall I say, the basic fabric of any community, are the people in the community, and the youth are very key to us. And that's, how we kind of see our role and how we would like to, play our role to encourage, this segment. And then also, the junior achievement program, is a very laudable one. And we see this, as a very, a key collaboration between ourselves.
Thank you very much, Ade. Again, it just goes to my opening remarks about the versatility of these new arrangements where we can actually have a meeting like this on the road. Right. I'm going to ask my final question of the session because I'm conscious of time. And I want to put the challenge to our chairman, Niyi. Taking into consideration all that has been said so far, this is an opportunity to speak to a wider audience, some who are familiar with us, some who are encountering us for the first time. Why should people invest in JA Nigeria specifically, and how can they do that? Recognizing, you're a consultant, you've been a consultant to business, so you are in the field, you are dealing with the people who have to hire these graduates and then struggle with translating these university or tertiary institution graduates into workers that are productive. So there's, to me, an existential justification, right? It's either you do this because you need the productive manpower and you need the market that can buy your product. But that's for me. What is your pitch, if you will, to the larger audience for engagement with JA Nigeria, for supporting JA Nigeria, and how can they do this?
All right, thanks, Zachary. I think for most of us as organizations, we all tend to have a CSR project, which some take seriously, while some just take it as tokenism, right? But I think what JA Nigeria provides is a trusted platform that organizations can use to exponentially increase their impact in society. Now, when you focus on the issues of employability, entrepreneurship, and education, what you're doing is developing the consumers of tomorrow who will buy your product, but also you are grooming the talents of tomorrow who will be your own employees. And thirdly, you are creating for yourself a social license to operate. You are creating for yourself the goodwill in the community that will allow you to be able to operate peacefully and to have good relationships with the community. And what a JA offers you is a certainty of outcome. What Junior Achievement offers is a trusted platform, a platform that has been there for 20 years, a platform that is audited by one of the big 4 global audit firms, and a platform that is stable and steady given the quality and the nature of the board. And that trusted platform has impacted a million youth in 20 years. And so imagine how that could be of benefit to your organization, because it means we have a model that is proven, that is tested, that is working. And so with JA, you could develop multifunctional employees that will be able to thrive, that can solve problems creatively, that have the entrepreneurial mindset, and that can get things to happen. And we ask companies and individuals to join us. First, you could start by volunteering as an individual and spending time with our students in their classrooms, spending time grooming the young ones and mentoring them. Second, you could sponsor any of our programs. We have programs in primary school, secondary school, university, NYC. You could sponsor any of those programs. Thirdly, you actually could also be what we call a partner in delivery, which is that you sponsor a big program for 3, 4, 5 years, right? As opposed to being tactical, you could be strategic and decide to sponsor a program for 4, 5 years, and then get your employees to also volunteer their time. You can also step it up and then become a board member. Board members in Junior Achievement pay to serve, right? So every board member pays a certain board fee and also helps to attract resources to the work that Junior Achievement does. And I think in any of those areas could be opportunity. Lastly, you also could provide services, right? So if you're a technology company, you could provide technology services to support JA in Nigeria. If you're a marketing communications company, you could provide marketing comm services to support JA in Nigeria. And so the support could be both in cash and also in kind in terms of the services that the organization deploys. And JA is in, we have operations in all the 36 states of the country. And like the first panel talked about, next week will be Financial Literacy Day, where JA staff will be in all the 36 states with our banking communities. And so if you're looking for a platform that is available in all 36 states that grants you access to youth between the ages of 5 and 25, and that delivers results and that shows, that has evidence of results that have been delivered, then JA Nigeria, it's there for you. And please do join us.
It's the way to go. If I let you, you will continue selling JA from now till it's time for us to go to bed. So I'm going to have to give the last word to Ian. Do me the favor of wrapping up for us in 60 seconds. Is it just about CSR?
Sorry, there's a bit of interference, so I couldn't hear you very well.
I'm giving you the chance to wrap up for us in 1 minute.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
My challenge is it just about CSR?
No, I don't think it's about CSR. I think we're investing in the future of our business. And many of us who run businesses understand that the most critical element that makes all our businesses run, particularly going into the future, is talent. But in the world that we're in, it's not just enough for us to have talent, because we're kind of moving from an industrial work age to a knowledge workspace. Important than having talent is having entrepreneurial talent. And entrepreneurial talent can only be built by the kind of work that folks like JA are doing to help the future employees and entrepreneurs in our country understand how value is built. Imagine 100 years from now, or 20 years from now, perhaps more relatively, you have an employer that understands you're accountable to shareholders, that understands they can't waste company money, that understands they have to work really hard to deliver value to all the people who are trusting you. They have to work very hard to serve your customers. They have to think carefully about the business setup. They have to make sure they're compliant so they don't erode company value. Having young people who understand this makes it easier for you to run your business. So it's an investment. It's not CSR. If you think about it as CSR, I feel like you'll be making the wrong decision. But if you think about it as, I want to hire the next generation of entrepreneurial talent, and I'm going to start sowing those seeds today by working with JA, then you're making the right decision.
All right. Thank you very much, Ian. Thank you, Nii. Thank you, Sade. Thank you, Folusha. Thank you, participants. It's been a pleasure. I hope this has been as good for you as it has been for me, even more. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Zachary. Thank you, panelists. Thank you so much for a great session. All right, we're moving on very quickly to the final session of the day. Just two things very quickly. Just a reminder that this is streaming live on Channel's Facebook. We will also send the link out to everyone via email when this is done so that you can go and catch up on it if you missed any parts. Also, if there's any questions at all, you can pop them in the chat box and we'll take them as we go along. All right, so we're moving on to the final panel. Last but not the least is the digital literacy panel. And on this panel, I have some distinguished guests with me. I have first of all, Ifeoma Dozie, Director of Marketing and Communications, SSA of Mastercard. Welcome, Ifeoma. I have Chief Commercial Officer of Mixta Africa, Rolake Akikube Filani. I have Titi Akisomi, who is Policy and Government Relations Lead, Google West and Francophone Africa. And I also have Inya Boyeji joining us again, who is founder and general partner of Future Africa. He's also a JAN alumni and our latest board member. Welcome to all our distinguished panelists. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. I see all of you looking good. Hi there, Ify.
Hi, good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Great to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so let's jump right into it. So my very first question is actually for everyone, and you can all take it, as you feel led to. What impact do you think that educating the Nigerian youth with digital skills will have? And I know that almost all of the organizations on this panel are very big on digital skills. I can see Ify smiling already. So just let us know what your thoughts are as far as the impact that this will have on our youth. Thank you.
Super. I'll jump right in, because indeed this is a topic that's a very critical one for us at Mastercard. But before I talk about what we do at Mastercard in relation to empowering the youth with digital skills, I think it's interesting to reflect on the fact that we are living in the fourth industrial revolution, which is really all about digital. And also how technology and digital either connects and divides us. And currently, there is a digital divide. It's even been more accelerated as a result of COVID. And it's extremely important to focus on digital inclusion, because digital inclusion can be an enabler of economic empowerment and overall financial well-being. So building a more equitable digital economy is everyone's responsibility, and it starts with the youth. So at Mastercard, we're very committed to advancing social progress through programs that focus specifically on bridging both the digital gap that exists and also the gender gap that exists in STEM. So that's my contribution to the question. So I'll be quiet and let the other panelists also make their contributions as well.
Thank you, Ify. Titi, are you there? Can we get your thoughts as well? All right, it seems like I'm not sure that Titi is able to hear me. She might be having connectivity issues. All right, so while we're waiting for Titi to reconnect, Rolake, can we get your thoughts, please? What are your thoughts with regards to the impact that digital skills will have on the Nigerian youth?
Yeah, hello everybody. Apologies, I'm actually in a moving car on a site visit. So I think for us, this is a very, very critical and crucial area. And the reason is, we are a real estate and affordable housing developer. And one of the big entrepreneurial opportunities we've seen in our space has to do with what we call prop tech. I don't know how familiar people are with the prop tech industry. It's essentially property technology. And I'm sure people will ask, well, how exactly do you take homes and housing digital? But what we're seeing is that there are a lot of young people who have created emerging digital innovations in areas such as the buying and selling of houses online. And they've taken that a step further to incorporate the entire ecosystem, end-to-end ecosystem of the home buying process, the rental process, the valuation and the mortgage check process entirely online. What am I trying to say here? I think we need to equip and empower our young people with digital skills. A lot of the disruption we've seen across incumbent industries in whatever sector have happened and have been enabled by digitization. So it goes without saying that in terms of sustainability, the only way we can sustain the future of work is through digitization. And if we then decide that young people are the future, we need to then find ways to marry these two things. So we at Mixter, our key focus areas as a company are sustainability, empowerment, and innovation. And bringing all of that together, we think young people are at the heart of that. And I think the final thing I will say is that digital skills actually make commercial sense. There's a commercial rationale for digitization. It's not just for the sake of it. Digitization leads to disruption, and disruption done consistently down costs and allow new ways of doing business to become quite competitive. So I think when you look at it from the commercial rationale perspective as a business, it only makes sense to support innovation. It only makes sense to support the development of digital skills amongst young people, because it's a way of securing their future and enabling their participation in the future of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Rolake. Thanks so much. Ingi, over to you.
I think there are many interesting elements to digital literacy, but I think the one that interests me the most is having people, having young people in particular, start to understand the way long-term value is created, right? I think for me that's the most useful of all the kind of key elements. I'm super excited about a new generation of companies that have emerged to actually lower barriers to invest in, particularly globally. Because this allows all of us. Do something about that interference. Interrupting my thought. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think that what's really exciting is to see young people kind of start to get familiar with money and what money can make possible, right? And how to do that on the internet, right? And how to leverage digital literacy as a tool for tapping into the global economy in particular. One of the things I'm super excited about when it comes to digital literacy initiatives is actually, in the world of work that we're going to post-corona, all you need is a laptop and internet connection, and the whole world opens up to you in unbelievable ways. And as we think about the structure of our economy as Nigerians, we don't necessarily have the financial wherewithal. I think we'll get there, but we don't have the financial wherewithal today to build the physical infrastructure required or the manufacturing base required to be able to compete in trading goods. But where we're able, because of the number of young people, intelligent young people that we have to really compete, is in terms of trading services. And the biggest, fastest growing area of trading services, it requires digital literacy. So as I think about the structure of our economy, like what is Nigeria able to be globally competitive in, it becomes even more important that digital literacy is top of the agenda, because really could very well be kind of the only thing that we can export at scale to the rest of the world. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for your great contributions. Wonderful. Okay, so Inyi has started talking about the future of work, which leads me into my next question, which has to do with that, right? So we obviously know that the future of work, the jobs of the future, however you want to coin it, right, is highly dependent on digital skills. Can we talk about how some of your organizations supporting the Nigerian youth are doing so to adopt digital skills? We can start with Ifeoma, because I know that Ifeoma's organization, Mastercard, is doing quite a bit with regards to that. Ifeoma, can you talk to us about how Mastercard is supporting Nigerian youth to adopt digital skills for the future of work?
Yes, I can. Thanks for the question. So like I was saying previously, at Mastercard, first and foremost, we're a technology company. So we have a program that specifically aims to bridge the gap with gender within STEM. So STEM being science, technology, engineering, and math. And we have an award-winning signature education program called Girls for Tech. It's something that we are rolling out in partnership with Junior Achievers. Very happy to be, extending the partnership into the second year. And I hope that it's a partnership that we will continue to work on over the years, because it really is aimed at inspiring and preparing young girls aged 8 to 12 for careers in science and technology. It's based on global science and math standards, and it was created in conjunction with Mastercard's top engineers and technologists to teach the foundation of STEM through a very fun and engaging curriculum. The topics that we focus on are algorithms, cryptology, and digital convergence. And it really is a nice way to expose students to coding, to talk about reasons for encryption, to expose them to algorithms. Mastercard employees also serve as mentors and role models and guide participants through the exercises. So like I mentioned, it was launched in 2014, but we aggressively started rolling this out last year in partnership with Junior Achievers. We also are in the process currently now in March in celebration of women. We're also rolling out similar programs in Nigeria and in Kenya with the aim to reach about 180 girls this year with the program. It's normally an in-person curriculum that's delivered, but as a result of the difficulties that we're all facing with COVID, we have created a Girls for Tech Connect version of the program that's basically delivered online. So it's quite a simple and effective way to reach more girls by giving them the educational resources. So that's what we focus on, specifically Girls for Tech, and specifically focusing on girls between age 8 to 12.
Thank you, Ifeoma. Girls for Tech is a really fantastic program, and we started it last week, and we have a few more sessions to go. And last week, I can tell you, it was absolutely amazing. The energy in the room, the girls were on fire. They were answering questions in ways that I didn't imagine I could when I was their age. In fact, I kept saying to the Jan team that these girls are super smart, and it's just so amazing to have, companies like Mastercard collaborating with us to run such amazing programs. So thank you once again, Mastercard. All right, so my next question. In the earlier session, Inyi mentioned that we have to build our way to development, right? So Nigeria, we can't expect, and not just Nigeria, really any country that develops doesn't expect just the government to come and solve all their problems. So let's talk about building sustainable systems, right? How do we build sustainable systems that can help students in underserved communities? We can start with Inyi, and then we'll go over to Rolake after Inyi.
Yeah, awesome. My experience with building sustainable systems is that we think about it as a layered process. So what I mean is, you know, there are multiple different kinds of infrastructure that that development requires, right? Some of them are not things individuals can do. So for example, policy can only be done by government, right? But then there's another layer, which is, you know, existing private sector. How is private sector becoming a pillar for entrepreneurial development? And, you know, I mean, you know, recently Flutterwave announced that it had raised over $170 million at a $1 billion valuation. And I think something that was perhaps, you know, missing in all the frenzy was how much banks, for example, contributed to making that possible, right? Because they were able to open up their systems, and Flutterwave was built on their rails, in actual fact, right? If we didn't have banks that were as big as they were, thanks to consolidation as a result of government policy, we wouldn't have been able to build this company from. And that's the way that I think about how development happens, right? Development happens because you're able to, you know, government lays a policy framework, groundwork. Large enterprises are able to build on top of that framework and build solid infrastructure. And then the entrepreneurs that we train can then build on top of that solid infrastructure, very valuable businesses. And that's how a society develops, right? Because all of us are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I generally tend to think about these things.
Yes, yes, it does.
Develops.
Thank you, Inyi. Thank you very much. Rolake, over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to use the sort of housing analogy. So typically when you're delivering a house to the market, you need to build the foundations, right? You need to lay the groundwork. And even when you're developing and building a house, there's an entire supply chain and a value chain that goes into the inputs for what you need to deliver to the market. And I've always said that development is really about solving a problem in the most innovative and cost-effective way to meet your market needs, right? And so I think what we really need to see is a coming together, a meeting of minds between different elements, right? We live in societies and economies that have limited resources. And one of the great things about, again, going back to leveraging digital literacy and skills, is that you're trying to find the fastest way to scale, to ramp up, to meet economic or societal needs or to solve problems. But that cannot happen in a vacuum. What we need is an enabling environment. So one of the very first things I'm going to say is that there's a lot that is happening with private sector development, but we need to align it with the public sector side, the regulatory side. There needs to be systems that enable things to happen in our society, not just for young people, for business, for industry. And you know, when we think about development, how does development happen? There is a need. Someone comes up with an idea, there's an innovation, and there's a system that allows that innovation to happen and to be scaled. So I think when we put all these things together, we are really, really passionate about solving problems. And we're always thinking about the fastest and quickest way to solve those problems in the most cost-effective manner. But of course, our system of infrastructure depends on government, it depends on incentives. There's a lot that the private sector can do in terms of fast-tracking development, but I think we also need to see how we work hand in hand with the public sector, giving limited resources to ensure that it happens. So I don't know if that sort of answered your question. I think one of the areas that we're looking at, and let me just sort of paint the picture of how this happens. So the youth explosion and the demographic explosion in Africa is that 60-70% of the population is 16 and younger. One of the biggest things that we're seeing in this market that is a major challenge across the continent is a housing deficit. So when I think to myself is, we have a demographic explosion. There are a lot of young people, right, who are either homeless or are renting and need a safe place and a safe haven to work from or to innovate from. So we're creating a society, we're trying to create a society that is not fit for the demographic of people who will use those goods and services in the picture. And so whilst the government is looking at, investing more in public sector education, investing more in skills acquisition, vocational skills, I think the onus is us as those who also work in the private sector to ensure that the goods or services that we're providing and churning out also meet the needs of the main target market that will carry us into the future. And that is essentially development. It's about meeting needs in the fastest, quickest way and most cost-effective way possible that meets the needs of the market that will sustain us for many, many decades and many centuries to come. So that is something that Mixter is really, really passionate about. And I hope that helps in sort of this whole debate around development.
Thank you so much, Rolake. All right, Titi is back with us. Titi, I just want you to lend a voice to this question as well. The question is, how do we build sustainable systems that can help the youth in underserved communities?
It's a mixture of different things. First off, digital skills are critical, but they're absolutely irrelevant if the regulatory environment does not support infrastructure that would support the acquisition of the skill set. Unfortunately, I think there's a significant portion of the Nigerian population that has, quote unquote, or is being left behind as a result of infrastructure deficits. But how best can they leverage what is currently in place? For me, that's where a junior achievement comes in. The institution that I work for, Google, has a plethora of digital skills related initiatives in place, from training developers all the way through to just giving business skills, right? Digital business skills, through to just equipping people on how to be able to use a basic computer. However, it is the bridge that institutions like Junior Achievement provide that does make a difference. How do they make a difference? They're able to connect the dots between the resources that are put behind these kinds of initiatives like Google has, and connect it with those who are severely underserved. And those are, young people who are not found necessarily in the urban areas of Lagos or in Abuja, or even in Kano or Kaduna. This is where sustainability potentially could come in or could happen, where I believe it was Rolake who spoke before me, where there can be the connecting of the dots between the great work that's being done by both, multinational corporations and local institutions and the work that Junior Achievement is doing and that government needs to be able to do. And that can only happen, right, with a willingness to convene and work together. And I think that is where that gap is. I'm trying to respond to your question in a way that says that this is organically happening. However, based on the population stats that we have, for this to be impactful and sustainable, there needs to be increased cooperation. Speaking with my board member of Junior Achievement hat on, it's one of the things that I think we need to approach a bit more, meaning we are well known as Junior Achievement as players in the entrepreneurial space. How can we work better with government for them to recognize that there's a connecting of the dots that they can make happen? But, I'm a policy wonk. I will always pull this in. I think the final feedback or the final comment I will make is around the fact that digital skills are great. Institutions from the private sector, it's great that it's been led or by, from nonprofit institutions. However, if this is not integrated within the educational system of Nigeria, and I'm not just talking about, computer science skill set, but the ability, and I think it was Inyi that earlier spoke to it or inferred it, the ability to be able to innately have the skill set to think like an entrepreneur, whether or not you're an entrepreneur, is something that we need to have in place. I think it was about a week ago, I tweeted and I said this. I said, one of the things I realized growing up in Nigeria is we were taught everything. Education is held high, etc. But nobody thought to teach you how to make wealth, retain it, and sustain it. Now, junior achievement, I'm looking at you, Felucia, I'm looking at the team, I'm looking at all of us as board members. That is a unique gap that we have an opportunity to fill in an impactful and sustainable way using the power of digital. I'm done.
Thank you, Titi. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the panelists. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. And I was going to ask a question, but I think this will be better instead. Can we all just give a few closing remarks with regards to, digital literacy, the youth in Nigeria, and all the things that we have talked about? I will start with Inyi, and then after Inyi will be Ife, and then we'll keep rolling. So Inyi, over to you.
Thank you. I think, just with respect to closing, I think all of us in this room have a huge responsibility to grow digital literacy, because quite literally that is the future of our country. When we talk about sustainable sources of foreign earnings for our country, as you can see with what's going on with oil, that's going to dwindle, and what will be left is what can we do with our talent? What can our talent do for the world with respect to services? And the foundation of our ability to be able to compete in that respect is going to be based on how seriously we take digital literacy. So it's extremely important as a foundation. And I would love to suggest that, a couple important things that government and private sector can work together on to make this possible. Number one is really accelerating the national broadband plan, and ensuring that every corner of this country is covered by internet access and connection. Number two is increasing access to mobile phones and laptops for young people. We have a lot of young people in universities who I feel should have access to mobile phones and laptops in order for them to be digitally literate. So it's extremely important. And number three is through the efforts of supporting the efforts of companies like Junior Achievement, who have, as has become extremely important, meshed together digital literacy and entrepreneurship, which is how we're going to be able to build the next flutter wave. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Ian. Ife?
Yes, thanks. So I think I'll end with a statistic, which is that within the next decade, 80% of global jobs will require some combination of digital, and specifically some combination of STEM. So as E was making reference to, it is really incumbent upon all of us to really equip the youth and women specifically with the right digital skills that will enable them to unleash their potential and make extraordinary things happen. So it's so important that we continue to create an equal playing field going forward by providing education opportunities and motivation where possible for women and our youth to pursue STEM subjects that's extremely critical. So thank you very much again for inviting me to be part of this panel, and I really look forward to the partnership that we currently have with Jan, and also partnership going forward that we will continue to have with Jan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ife. Thank you very much. Rolake, over to you.
Closing statement, I just wanted to take time to thank Jan and laud you guys for the fantastic work you're doing with our young people all over the country. That labor will not be in vain, and I hope we'll continue to see the fruits of your programs and our collaboration. I want to sort of say that for me, increasingly, digital choices are life choices. And the sooner we realize that we have to equip and prepare all our stakeholders for the future, the better. We need to work urgently to ensure we invest our time and resources in helping them build these skills, ensuring that we ourselves in the process are not left behind, the curve. So I look forward to the future of this country. I look forward to the innovation and the creativity within our young people. And I'm personally committing to ensure that I'm part of that story and that narrative. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rolake. Titi, last but not least.
Certainly not. I'm putting my video on because I wanted to be able to make a point around the fact that we're not building for the now, we're building for the future. And that future is represented by this gentleman that I've got with me, which is part of where I had my video off. And that can only happen in an extrapolated way if particularly the Nigerian government continues or steps up its ability to support, enable, and particularly initiate environments that will birth and grow more entrepreneurs that are emerging both out of junior achievements programs or out of other efforts. So ability to be able to XXX the Flutterwaves, the Paystacks, and become the Stripes, the Googles, the Mastercards out of Nigeria is very much dependent on the Nigerian government's ability to be able to continue to support and enable a regulatory environment that helps us grow. For junior achievement, I'm a firm believer. I began more or less my career volunteering, and I'm committed in my personal capacity to continue to support and grow your reach, not just within the major city centers, but to your earlier comment, to the young people who are somewhere potentially in my village in Ondo State, who have no access and have no idea what is happening in the tech sector.
Thank you, Titi. Thank you so much to our distinguished panelists on the digital literacy panel. And thank you to everyone who has spoken, who has supported, and who's here with us today. We're about to round up now, and I'm going to introduce our final speaker, who is the delightful Mr. Rufai Ladipo, who is the Managing Director of Agile Communications and is also one of our board members, as he gives the closing remarks. Mr. Rufai, over to you.
Let me take this opportunity. I think it's not there. It's not there. The script. Yeah, let me just take this opportunity on behalf of the entire Board of Junior Achievement Nigeria. I'd like to thank everyone here today for taking the time to join us for today's conversation. To our partners, our panelists, board members, and the media, I want to thank you all for engaging us today. Most especially Channels Television for their continued support. Business Day that has been with us for so long, Guardian newspaper, Nigerian Tribune, Nation newspaper, Vanguard, and others whose publication houses are not listed here. We say a very big thank you to you for making this happen for us. This is our very first stakeholders engagement conversation, but definitely won't be the last. we believe that this conversation are quite critical to the work we do at JAN, and we provide solutions to the bigger problems on addressing the sustainable development goals for us and indeed for our students as well. As we continue in our efforts to reach our next 1 million students, we call on organizations to partner with JAN by supporting our programs and also by communicating the success and impact of JAN. And I will really need to footnote this very well, especially for our media partners, that we really need your support in getting the information out on JAN. JAN is doing a lot of work, to impact the lives of young Nigerians, and people must know. And we depend on your platforms to make this happen. We also want to ask you to go for more information. If you can visit the JAN website, www.ja-nigeria.org. You can also send us any email on info@janigeria.org. I want to thank you all. I also want to thank the Executive Director, Folusho Odiola Samuel. I've been here with them all day today, since morning, and they have been very nice. They have worked so hard to make this happen and make it happen so seamlessly. I thank you all, and we hope to see you some other time. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, everyone. We have come to the end of our program. Have a fantastic day. Thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate you, and we'll see you at our next stakeholder session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye.